What's up, everybody? It's Kyle, your host of Unlocking Your Inner Strength, with another episode. This is episode 251. And as I was thinking about what to talk about today, I had one idea and then it kind of morphed into something else. So, what I'm going to be talking about are five principles, basically, that I've learned in the gym the past 24 years. So, I'll be 40 this summer. Really got into lifting when I was about 16. I was lifting a little bit before that for sport, for football. But 16 is like when the seed was planted, and I realized the world that lifting could open up for me as far as confidence and all types of stuff. And I'll preface this with saying, and this is what I always tell people, I've learned more in the gym than any classroom I've ever been in. Right, I've learned more with my trials and tribulations within the gym than any classroom I've ever been in or could imagine. So let's talk about the first one, and then I'll kind of just give you my take on it. So, perseverance. I remember when I started out, I had a goal to gain a certain amount of weight, right? And you seem like you're never going to get there when you're first starting out. You know, if you're a skinny guy, skinny teenager, it seems like it's almost an impossible dream. But you start putting together a plan, right? Nobody's telling you got to do it necessarily. You start putting together a plan, and you realize that, hey, this guy, or let's say it was Schwarzenegger, was a big motivating, big role model for me. He didn't do it overnight. So you start to learn to persevere over the long haul. And then within a tough workout or a tough set, you learn this skill, right? All skills can be learned, and perseverance is a skill. But you learn to persevere through tough workouts and through tough sets. I remember going through, it used to be like Legendary Legs when we would do them back in the day at the time, what was Maximum Fitness. And I'm talking, some of the workouts would be, usually it was twice a week, I would hit my legs really hard. But one of the workouts was 25 sets of 15 on the squat. And we'd go in for 2 hours, me and a couple buddies. And sometimes we'd have a boom box with us, right? Because we wanted to play our type of music that we liked, whether that was hip hop or some type of classic, rock like AC/DC or whatever. But if you focus on the entire 25 sets in that example, you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to feel like you can't do it, right? So you go one set at a time, one rep at a time. You persevere. And before you know it, man, I'm done. And then you know that, hey, 7 days from now isn't that far off. Now it's time to start recovering, right? So constantly gives you this thing that you got to blast through and persevere through and push through. So perseverance, and then all these skills, the reason I'm going over this, all these lessons I've learned transfer over to real life. That's really the important thing, right? They transfer over to your life, right? The gym is not necessarily supposed to be your life. If anybody could say that, it would probably be me, right? With Newell Strength, love working out, all this stuff. A lot of my passion is within the gym, but that's not my life, right? It's just one vehicle for my life. It's not supposed to be your life. So you got all these other elements of your life that perseverance and these other skills I'm going to go over can carry on to. So perseverance is one of the main things, and now I use that with fasting. And think about this before I move on. If you are in any type of negotiation or something, right, where, let's say it's a competition at work, if you've trained this and you've pushed yourself in the gym over the years, you know that many times you're tougher, you have more perseverance than the person sitting across from you, or the person vying for the same job opportunity or the same spot on the team. And that gives you an edge, right? Perseverance is a mental muscle. Goal setting. So this is a big one. I'm actually doing a goal setting webinar for people that want to attend tonight. Man, when I first started, I remember I couldn't even bench press 95 pounds, right? So 95 pounds, that was a struggle. I remember one time I went to the Y because that was the first gym membership that my dad got me. And before I got my license, and he went in with me the one time and said, I got bench day. Can you spot me real quick before you take off? Because he'd leave and come back and pick me up. And it was like a plate, which is 135, and I got pinned. So thank God he was there to help lift the weight off. But going back to when I was a weakling, right? Now, a couple of years ago, I had a goal, which I had set. I actually set the goal as 405 pounds, but I got 400, and then I got a little bit derailed, but on the bench press. But I was able to do it. Now, if you go back to when I started, if I had said at that point, I'm going to bench 400 pounds, that would be such an overwhelming thought to go from 95 pounds to 400 pounds, right? But I'm sure the seed was planted there. Hey, one day I'm going to have a big bench press, right? At that point. So you learn about goal setting. You learn how that you got to think small. How do I just improve workout to workout? And realizing that not every workout is going to be a success. You can't have great workouts every single time you're in the gym. That's just not the way it goes. So you learn goal setting, whether it's your body composition, right? And it's a physical thing you can see what transform, whether it's the numbers or other people say it. And this is just an invaluable skill. How to set a goal, and then you can't BS yourself when it comes to your body in the gym. You either see the results, you see the numbers, or you don't. Right? So there's no, I have a goal, I want to make $1 million. And you could just kind of hide your bank statement. Nobody really knows, but people know what you're doing in the gym. So goal setting has been a huge one, and learning how to set proper goals, right? You break down, you think small. All these types of things. Each set, right? Each set has a goal. And there's a reason a lot of times I'll count backwards, right? The brain is closing off that open loop, right? It's not open-ended. So, okay, how do we use that for deadlines and goal setting? So all these things I've learned about goal setting with my time in the gym over the years. So goal setting is a big one. The social aspect that I've learned in the gym. You have different levels of this social intelligence, right? First of all, a big one that's overlooked within gyms, and it's funny, you notice this when you observe it done incorrectly. Personal space, right? So if I'm over here pressing, somebody comes within my bubble, hey, you got to move over, right? Or just knowing what you're doing, you need a certain amount of space. But relating to that, and then in gyms, right, you have the social, like social conversation going on. So how do you keep your workout going while not being rude to people, right? So you learn how to navigate all these things. You learn how to navigate all these things and raise your social IQ, which is huge. That's, to me, way more important than your IQ, right? Is your social IQ. I'm sure there's another name for it, but that's what I'm talking about. Encouragement, right? So that's part of the social. You learn how to encourage others. I remember the guys when I was first coming in to that Maximum Fitness, and at that point I was like, man, once you start training there, then you're on the path, right? And looking back at it, it was funny, just to think about how we viewed it at that point as a teenager. You know, that particular gym, a lot of great stories from that. But you had guys that were older that kind of took you under their wing, and if they gave you a word of encouragement, that was a big deal. And then over time, if you stay with it, you wind up possibly being the one that's going to be encouraging people and saying, hey, man, keep it up. Good job today. You might not know them, right? But I remember many times just going in, and you find out later that those words of encouragement meant a lot to the people, and it gave them the seed to grow to some phase of their life that they may not have had the confidence to do on their own, right? So you encourage people, because what you're doing in the gym is hard. It's hard physical work, hard mental work. So that's one piece of the social. And then the last piece of the social I jotted down was kind of desensitizing myself to judgment. So what do I mean by this? So back then when I was training training at and training people out of the Maximum Fitness, which is right down the street, it's changed names and owners a bunch of times, I would be doing some weird stuff that now you see it's commonplace and people take it for granted. But at the time, so this was before CrossFit started, right? The way I would train was so outside the box that the pace and the exercises and all this stuff that people would come over and watch me, then they would try to copy. They would ask some people, would just kind of observe, You know, it was so different than just going there and sitting and doing your traditional bodybuilding workout. And I'd have a lot of people come up to me, and to be honest, that's where the seed got planted. What are you doing, man? Can you write a program for me like that? What is that? Blah, blah, blah. And it would go on and on. And, you know, I had to learn, okay, don't worry about what other people are thinking. You're learning, and then you're applying. Learn, apply, even if it looks strange. And then I would go in, I remember many times to the gym just wearing, you know, my T-shirt and like black tights. This is before anybody was wearing these leggings for men, right? And I wouldn't put shorts over them because I knew that it would put me in a weird situation, in an uncomfortable situation, stepping outside my comfort zone where, okay, it's leg day, but I don't care what anybody says. I'm doing this intentionally, right, to be able to desensitize myself to any of this perceived judgment. And that's a big thing. So that's one of the other social pieces, is also being observant of what not to do. You see a lot of people in gyms that are very judgmental, right? A lot of these $1 million bodies, 10-cent brains type of people. They'll look, man, look at her. She's not losing weight, or she's chunky, or whatever it is, right? So you learn what not to do, how not to act socially. It's going to humble you. I've been humbled in the gym, both by training partners, the weight on the bar, right? That's the ultimate tell. And just realizing that, just like anything in life, as soon as you start comparing, you're humbled. So you don't want to do it to knock down your level of happiness, but there's always somebody out there that's stronger than you. There's always a weight that you can't lift yet, a workout that you can't complete yet. So it humbles you, right? And you should be seeking that out. If you're going in and everything's easy, you're not getting much of a workout. I could guarantee that. Remember, working out, that's going to be my last one, is more for your brain than anything. So how are you pushing that brain? How are you humbling yourself? And I made the Mental Toughness Monday video about that this morning. But how are you doing that constantly and consistently within the gym? So I remember I've been on both sides of it. You know, people used to come train legs with me. So this is back when I was competing. And it's funny, I just had to do a measurement for a suit for upcoming wedding that I'm the best man in. And so we ordered the suit. You know, we ordered it. It was a place online. Did my leg measurements. I think Devin took my leg measurements at like 25 inches. Now, you got to understand, when I was competing in bodybuilding, my legs were up over 28 and a half inches. So it was pretty huge legs, right? And that was always like my strong suit, and which made buying pants very difficult. But nonetheless, I got that because I would train them so intensely that it was kind of what I became known for, right? As far as that little world went. So I'd have people that would want to come train legs with me. And within, no joke, 10, 15 minutes into the workout, they'll run to the bathroom to puke. That wasn't my intention, but it was okay. If you're going to train me, you're going to see the intensity that we're going to train at. So in that case, they got humbled. Now on the flip side, when I started training with a guy that beat me in 2007, who went on to become a professional bodybuilder, Tim Martin, who became a good friend at the time, we trained together after that contest, leading up to all the way when he became an IFBB pro. So I was able to help him with training as well. But I remember the first time I did legs with him at his gym, and I puked, right? So you had all these different levels, and I'm not saying you have to do that to humble yourself, but you realize, man, that you could be in a small pond, right? The biggest fish in a small pond. You go to a bigger pond, you're not going to be the biggest fish. And that there's so many different ways that applies to what you're learning in the gym. And the last one is how much physical movement has an effect on the human mind and brain. It actually makes you smarter, right? There's certain hormones and growth factors that can only get to your brain, only cross the blood-brain barrier, which is a protective mechanism, through physical movement, right? And this is an evolutionary thing. So you have that, right? Like something called BDNF, which is basically fertilizer for your brain. It's greatly increased also by fasting, by the way, but through physical movement, exertion. So you actually are physically growing the structure of your brain, but then all the hormones that are going on and the alertness and all that, right? It makes learning much easier, right? There used to be anyhow this stigma that if you were a muscle head or you had a lot of muscle that you were stupid, right? It doesn't work like that. In my opinion, the better shape you're in, usually these are the more intellectually advanced type of people, because again, it takes all these other things: perseverance, goal setting, the social. You learn all this stuff, right? You got to study. You got to be disciplined. So it goes hand in hand. But it's more for your brain than anything. It's going to make you smarter, right? And it's a form of play, which is so good for your brain. And again, putting yourself in moves or patterns that you're not necessarily that comfortable in, right? It's a new groove, and you're creating these new neural pathways in your brain. Like just like if you start writing left-handed in your right hand, it's going to be weird first, right? It's working your brain in a different way. And then when you have to go out and you got to study or read or whatever it is you're trying to do, learning becomes easier, right? So there's so many different things, but those are the main things that I jotted down over the past 24 years coming up on being in the gym. It's a great teacher if you allow it to be. People that still think it's okay, but that still think that it's about really just changing the body and that's it. They're missing the whole boat, what it's really about. And they'll come around to it probably. Most people do that, stick with it for a long time. Anyhow, that's episode 251. If you want to join the goal setting webinar tonight, newellstrength.com/goals. It's free. Just put your email. I'll be sending the link out for the Zoom. That's at 8:15 tonight. Got a lot of cool stuff. Gonna rework on tweak my presentation on that here in a little bit. But you all have a good day, and I'll see some of you tonight on the goal setting webinar. Don't forget, hit the like, hit the share, subscribe on iTunes if you have not already done so. All right, everybody, have a good day.